Hey guys, I'm Elias. Welcome to Annie Sky. We're here for a new season of Blue Exorcist. I know you're going to love it. Subscribe, share, and like. Chapter 1 begins with Rin on top of some apartments, and we see how a city is full of snow, and we can see that he's in the past. And above, there's a white-haired boy who sees him and leaves, and at that moment, Felis appears, who welcomes him and tells him that he's not the Felis he knows, but one 40 years before, and the white-haired boy he saw is Fujimoto, and says that he's the king of time, and that his conscience can't age, and he remembers everything. He transforms into a small animal, and says that he'll guide him when he has free time, and says that it will be a dangerous journey. Then we see Rin use the key to enter a place, and Mephisto asks him where they are, and he tells him that they're north of the academy, a place that was once dangerous, and we see a father who's calling a girl. It's his daughter named Yuri. And Rin is surprised because she's her mother when she was little, and Felis tells her not to talk to people from the past. It won't create any paradox, but it will be confusing for them. And Yuri's parents advise her that they would be Rin's and Yukio's grandparents, telling her not to go out at night, or they would take one eye out like her grandmother, who would be the great-grandmother of our protagonist. And we see how she is a half-crazy character, and Yuri's mother tells her that Oku is the name of Rin's grandfather, and her mother were exorcists. And the girl tells them that she is not afraid of any of that, since she saw a blue fire recently. And her father and grandmother are a little in shock, saying blue fire, and the grandmother tells her that it is the fire of death, that any monster is afraid of it. Then she slept in her father's arm. We realize that they are adoptive and that she was found in a landfill. And his wife tells him that if his exorcist license is still active to work, so that at least he and his daughter live well, and Rin likes how her mother is happy. But Felis tells her to move on, and we see how she is in a landfill, seeing the memory of her playing, and suddenly, blue fire appears, indicating that she is. Satan adopted the form of that small flame, and we see how they play destroying things. Then she leaves, and the boys move forward further in time, and we see how the entire landfill caught fire, and Yuri crying, because her adoptive parents and her grandmother stayed there. She is very badly spending asking for food, and people denying it to her. And she, wandering, finds a place with supplies that is like a small room, and she stays there. Then we see the boy from the beginning, who according to Felis is Fujimoto. We see how Yuri tells him that he is sorry for eating his food, but asks him to stay there with him, since it is very cold outside, and he no longer has a family, and he calls him a snowman, since that's what his grandmother told him. And you tell him that it's very bad, since he doesn't care if he dies outside, and he says that he doesn't gain anything having another person here. And she says that the only thing he gains are these adult magazines, that she knows another place to get more. And she tries to convince him to stay, and she succeeds. And we can see how the boys try to warm up by hugging each other. And we see how Yuri caresses Fujimoto, calling him Snowman, then Rin talking. He likes the situation, since the name of his brother Yukio in Japanese means snowman, and he knows the origin of his name, and the situation as it happened later. You hear some dog barking, and he positions himself to see who is coming, and the dog that we see, that is one of purple fire, breaks the door of the children's shelter, and we see how some men tell Fujimoto to give up, and we realize that they are men that Felis sent him to take him to asylum, and they praise him because he is a good hiding place in which she is, and asks what Yuri is doing there, and he answers that he is an orphan. He will not leave her alone. But she says that she can see the dog, and the boys say that completely changes things, and they will take her too. And Rin watches how they leave. Yuri asks Fujimoto if it is a nice place, and he tells her that it is crap, that she was unlucky that he took her. And we see a small flashback of Rin. When he was a child, he was special, since he had strength and powers that obviously the others did not have. That sometimes he hurt them. He felt very alone, but he had Yukio, who was the important thing, and he was also his brother and Fujimoto, who gave him a home. But now he knows how alone and helpless his mother feels in the past. Then we see how the boys enter Asylum, which is the Academy of the Exorcists. But back then, They called it that. And Rin follows them until they arrive with a supervisor, who is apparently the leader of all of them, and tells her that she is going to take her to a place, but Fujimoto has to go to another place, and they are separated. And then we see Yuri with different clothes talking to the lady, and he tells her his history, that he comes from a family that was adopted, and that they lived in their factory, and then it went bankrupt, and that his biological father cannot be found, and his biological mother died, and Yuri asks her what this place is. And she says that it is a place that takes care of young people with their talent, in that of becoming an exorcist, and tells him everything that children do, from getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to clean their room, then take classes in order to become exorcists. By the end of the day, they will return to the dormitories, where they have a rule not to go out at night. And we see Yuri, as she is in her dormitory at night today, very happy, because she will become an exorcist, and says that her entire family will be proud. And we see how a boy tells her to shut her mouth, and that he can't understand how she is happy when boys are usually very sad on the first day. But Yuri tells him that he likes to study about demons. Then we see another boy who is next to him, and tells him that if he trains and becomes part of the elite called X-Wire, he will be one of the best. X-Wire are the best boys, and his reward is to have a private room. And then the boy next door, who is red-haired, tells him that X-Wires on average are usually girls. So try hard, and if he has any questions, to talk to him, since he is one of the oldest in the room, and before going to sleep, he asks for Fujimoto, and it seems that nobody knows him. Then we see Rin hiding inside one of the lockers, seeing how the children's life is like that of an army. Then he enters a door where Phelis is talking to one of the people who work at the asylum, so that they bring him a child, and that child is Fujimoto, and Phelis tells him that he heard about him and that he is from the Azazel group. And he scolds him because he escaped from Section 13 with 30,000 yen where he was, and says that he earned it doing street cleanups, and says that he has a plan to live far away with enough money, and asks him if he will hurt him, since he tells him that he is the most important director, Mephistopheles. And Fujimoto tells him if he likes it so much that he returns an X-Wire, telling him that he always chooses one every 15 years, and he has all the conditions to do so, and says that even if he becomes a paladin, that will not give him more freedom apart from making a Moriath pact so that he does not say information about the section. And he says that it seems good to him and that he will break his neck with bites, and Phelis says that he accepts, but proposes a deal, that if he loses with a demon, he will have to ask for any wish, and tells Okamura to leave, and asks him what is Section 13, and Phelis tells him to keep moving forward so that he realizes, and they leave for the asylum that at that time was an orphanage, before become the Academy of Exorcists. And it's where they take care of children with special abilities, and we see the mother of little Rin Phelis. She tells us that they closed it when the Blue Night happened. And we go to Section 13, where Phelis today explains directly that they were trying to create a body capable of withstanding a demonic possession. And Rin remembers what his brother told him, that they experimented with bodies, and Fujimoto was part of them. And he gets angry. Listen to this. But he explains that it is, so that Lucifer does not explode. And we see how he is in a medical bed operated on, and the boys go to Lucifer. And we see a doctor who explains to us the serums that were extracted from humans, demons, even animals, to give them to Lucifer, and Rin wonders why Lucifer's body was improved. Phelis today tries to talk to him, but apparently he gets worse, and tells him that if he leaves that body, all the suffering he has will go away. And we see how he speaks and tells him that he is very cruel, but that one day he will be rewarded. Mephisto and Rin are scared to see Lucifer and leave him alone. And Rin sits scared to see Lucifer in that state. And in that instant, we see Fujimoto, more advanced in age in that timeline, although at first they created multitudes of clones to create the elixir of immortality, although they decided to do many tests that for the children were unbearable. And we see how Fujimoto, from that moment in which they experimented a lot with him, decided to leave that place on that day, but decides to leave that place. And we see how he goes into a forest to reflect on what he has seen, although we see a training of the children in which Rin's mother is, and the challenge is to team up with the Exorcists and X-Wire to exorcise a demon. And at that moment, the X-Wire arrive, in which Fujimoto is taking into account that Yuri and Fujimoto had not seen each other for a long time, and she tries to greet him, but he acts as if he does not know her, and they do the challenge. But the demon is a giant tree in which the children must burn it, and the exorcists attack him, but everything goes wrong, and Fujimoto decides to attack him, and we see how he epically climbs towards the tree and throws a grenade in its mouth, in which it explodes, and has a small dialogue with Yuri, and suddenly takes out his gun to kill small demons that were in the forest, but that were harmless. And she does not agree very much with that attitude, since she considers that humans and demons should be friends. But he thinks the opposite, while Rin stayed observing the toxic personality that Fujimoto has. Some exorcists see Satan present there,